Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Gary. It was the weekend, and Heather, my wife, was away at some family gathering, something I was supposed to attend. But truth be told, I just wasn't in the mood. I had a rough week at work, so I needed a break badly. I decided to stay home, catch up on some personal stuff, and hopefully recharge a little. I spent the Saturday afternoon in our shared bedroom, just lying there on the bed. I had my laptop open, sorting through a few emails that had piled up. And while I was going through a particular email, I realized I needed a pen. But the one I had been using had stopped working because the ink had dried up and I couldn't write a thing with it. I could have gotten up and walked to the desk, but the idea of doing that seemed like more effort than I was willing to put in at that moment. Instead, I started scanning around, trying to see if I had a spare pen lying around somewhere close by. The drawer on my side of the bed was the first place I checked, but as luck would have it, it was empty. Nothing but old receipts and some random pieces of paper. I thought maybe I'd find something better in Heather's side of the bed. It was filled with bits and pieces of her personal things. She always kept her drawer neat and organized. I never really bothered with her drawer before, but that day, my pen situation had me desperate. So I slid open the drawer on her side and checked through things. There was a box of condoms, buried under a stack of papers, almost hidden. I can't tell you how confused I was. Heather and I never used protection. Not in 8 years of marriage. It was always understood between us. No need to talk about it. I checked the box. It was partially open, and one of the condoms was missing. That set my brain into overdrive, trying to figure out how to make sense of it. I just sat there wondering why she would have this here. I mean, we haven't been intimate in a while. Things had been distant between us, and I couldn't put my finger on why. We were kind of in a dry spell, emotionally and physically. That's when the reality hit me. Something wasn't adding up. Maybe she was hiding something. Maybe I had missed something. But the thought that came to my mind first and foremost was that she had been cheating. I didn't want to believe it, but that's what the box represented to me. There I was, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the box of condoms. This wasn't something that could be easily ignored. There was a good chance Heather had been hiding something. Was she cheating on me? Had she been seeing someone else? The worst part was that I wasn't even sure what to do with this information. How could I prove anything? I didn't want to jump to conclusions. But how else could I make sense of this? I couldn't confront her without proof. I had learned that lesson the hard way years ago when I thought she was having something with her ex. I had been wrong then. I wasn't going to make the same mistake again. So for the rest of the night, I was playing out scenarios in my mind, wondering if I was reading too much into it. But the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like my suspicions were right. I needed to find out the truth. The first thing I did was snap a photo of the condoms in the pack. After the photo, I carefully placed the box back in the drawer, just as I had found it. I wasn't stupid enough to mess up and tip her off. She couldn't know that I had discovered it yet. By the next day, I went out to Walmart and picked up a few hidden small cameras. I had to be careful where I placed them. I also grabbed a GPS tracker for Heather's car. If she was sneaking around, I had to track where she was going. I didn't want to make any assumptions. I needed to see it with my own eyes. Back home, I didn't waste any time. I started setting up the cameras in all the spots I knew Heather frequented. I made sure to hide them well, just enough that she wouldn't ever notice. After all, the whole point was for her to walk into the trap without knowing it. Once the cameras were set, I planned to place the GPS tracker in her car, so I waited for her to come home. When Heather walked in that evening, everything seemed normal. I didn't let on that anything had changed. No sudden shifts in my mood. We talked like usual, though I was really just watching her. She told me all about her family gathering, everything from the drama to the small talk. I listened, and it almost made me second-guess everything I had set up. Was I being paranoid? Was I seeing things that weren't there? She didn't sound like someone who was hiding a secret. But then, I wasn't just going to ignore what I'd seen. If anything, this conversation made me more determined to keep going. I couldn't let myself backtrack now. So, we had dinner like we always did. I nodded as she spoke, pretending to be engaged. Every word she said, Every gesture I was dissecting. And yet, she didn't give me any reason to doubt her in that moment. She seemed completely at ease. That night, I went to bed, but my mind was far from calm. If something was going on, I would find out soon enough. For the next month, I kept a close eye on everything. Every day, I'd check the footage from the hidden cameras and track Heather's movements through the GPS I'd secretly installed on her car. But every time I checked, everything seemed fine. She was going to the same places she always said she was: work, the grocery store, or out with her friends. There were no late-night rendezvous, no unexpected detours. The footage from the cameras showed nothing out of the ordinary. It was just her walking around the house, sometimes reading, sometimes cooking. Nothing that screamed cheating. It felt like my mind was playing tricks on me. I had to remind myself that I'd been through a tough few months emotionally, and my judgment might be clouded. Seeing the same boring footage day after day didn't make it any easier. It was as if I were trapped in this cycle of doubt and hope. On one hand, I wanted to believe her. But on the other hand, I couldn't shake the image of that box of condoms buried in her drawer. By the end of the second month, I started wondering if I'd made a mistake. I found myself asking if I had overanalyzed the situation. It's easy to lose yourself in that kind of doubt, especially when everything seems to be so normal on the surface. Every check was leading me to believe she was where she said she was, doing what she said she was doing. By the third month, I found myself checking the cameras less and less. I was getting tired of watching. A part of me wanted to believe that everything was okay, that she wasn't cheating. I started convincing myself that my suspicions were unfounded, that maybe I'd let my mind run wild with no reason at all. It felt like the calm before the storm, but I didn't know if the storm would ever come. This time of silence felt almost like a return to normal. I stopped myself from obsessing over her every move. I suppressed the thoughts that gnawed at me. In some twisted way, I even started to hope I was wrong. By the fifth month, everything seemed to be settling down. My doubts about Heather's fidelity had begun to fade. I hadn't seen anything suspicious on the cameras or through the GPS for months. But one afternoon, I decided to check the condom box again. Something inside me told me to take another look. Sure enough, when I opened it, my heart dropped. Another condom was missing. My suspicions flared up again. I knew what I had to do. I didn't hesitate for a second. I rushed to the camera footage, eager to find an answer, even if I wasn't sure I was ready for it. I started scrolling through hours of clips, feeling the weight of each second. It took longer than I expected to find anything, but when I did, I almost couldn't breathe. I watched as Heather brought a man into our bedroom. It was broad daylight, and I was at work, betraying me in the very space we'd shared our most intimate moments. The footage didn't leave much to the imagination. It was all there. The way he kissed her, how she responded. The way they moved around the room. Every part of it made my skin crawl. It wasn't an accident. It was planned. The emotional impact of that discovery was like nothing I had ever felt. I couldn't bring myself to look away from a screen, but each second felt like an eternity. I had to stop myself from going numb, from letting the shock take over. I composed myself, knowing that confrontation would come. I had to wait for Heather to come home. When Heather walked into the bedroom that day, I told her, "Come here, I want you to watch something." She was already looking at me like something's off. I was as calm as I could be, but inside, my chest was tight. She walks closer, and as soon as she sees it, I see her face change. Her eyes go wide, and she freezes as the video rolls. She tries to play it off. "It's not what it seems," she says, her voice shaky. I can't even tell you how many times she says it. Each time, she's just digging herself deeper, trying to claw her way out of a hole that's already way too deep. But I'm done with that. I don't need explanations anymore. I don't need her to tell me it was a mistake. I've been here before, and I'm not doing that again. I look at her and say, "No, Heather. It's exactly what it seems. I'm done." She's not ready for that. I can see it in her eyes. She steps back like she can't believe I've actually said it. She's crying, begging me to reconsider. "Please, Gary," she says, her voice breaking. "It was a mistake, just a one-time thing. Please don't do this." But I've heard that before. I can't let myself fall for it again. No, it wasn't just a mistake, Heather. I found the condoms 5 months ago. I didn't know what to think, so I decided to find out. I set up the cameras. I tracked your car. The look on her face when I told her that was like I'd just hit her with a ton of bricks. She's speechless, like she can't even process what I've said. The tears keep coming, but now there's fear behind her eyes. I know what you've been doing, I tell her. And now you need to pack your things and leave. You've got one choice, pack up or I send this video everywhere. She's shaking now, crying harder. Please, Gary, don't. It was a mistake, just a one-time thing. I swear. But it doesn't matter anymore. I've made up my mind. It's not a mistake. It's a choice. I can't lie, part of me wants to feel sorry for her, let her apologize, and pretend like nothing ever happened. But I know that's not going to work. She doesn't speak for a long time, but the look on her face says everything. She knows it's over. I watch her gather her things, slowly and without a word. She doesn't try to fight me anymore. She knows there's nothing left to say. The next day, I called my lawyer first thing in the morning. It was a decision that felt right in my gut, even though I hadn't fully processed the emotions yet. Divorce wasn't something I ever thought would be part of my life story, but I dialed the number of my lawyer to make it official, for my peace of mind, and for the freedom I could feel waiting on the other side. By the end of the week, the divorce agreement was on my table. Heather had already left by then. She packed up her things and moved out to stay with a friend who, in all honesty, probably didn't know the whole story. She tried to be the peacekeeper, the one who would try to bring us back together. But I knew deep down that there was no saving. The marriage was broken, and no amount of mediation or kind words could undo what had already been done. As Heather was staying with her friend, I couldn't help but wonder what exactly she had told her. What version of the story had she shared? Did she admit to everything? Did she tell her friend about the cameras, the tracker, the betrayal? Or did she try to paint herself as the victim in all this? I didn't ask. I didn't care to hear her side anymore. When her friend reached out to me, I asked point blank if Heather had been honest with her. The answer came quickly enough. Yes, she told me you caught her cheating and sent her away. I didn't know whether to be furious or just laugh at how easily everything had crumbled. Ask her for the rest of the story, I told the friend. It wasn't my job to tell the world what had happened. The divorce was finalized without much hassle. Heather signed the agreement, and we split the joint account fairly, I suppose, considering everything. The house was mine to keep. It was the least I could get out of the mess. I'd worked hard for it. Heather didn't contest anything. She took what was left and walked away, leaving me with the house and the peace I'd been longing for. But here's the thing, I didn't share the video. I wanted to give Heather some dignity, even if she didn't deserve it. Let her leave with some shred of pride, even if she had torn apart everything that should have mattered to us. As I sat back and thought about everything that had unfolded, I realized I was finally free. And Heather was free, too. She could live however she wanted now, without the constraints of a relationship she had already abandoned. But, in the end, it was at the cost of everything we had built together. The marriage was over, and though it stung, I knew I had made the right choice. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. Alright, let me start by saying, I never thought I'd be telling this story because, for a long time, I refused to believe them. My name is Donald, and if you've ever been in a relationship where things suddenly fell off, then you'll want to stick around. You see, when most guys hear their wives say, I need space, they panic. If you're ever in this situation, let me tell you something. You don't beg, you don't argue, you play it smart. So, let's take it from the beginning. 15 years. That's how long Genevieve and I had been married. We weren't perfect, no couple is, but I always thought we had a solid foundation. We had been through struggles, arguments, highs and lows, but at the end of the day, we were a team. Or, at least, that's what I believed. Then, something changed. Conversations got shorter. She started staying up later than usual, phone in hand, screen lighting up her face in the dark. When I'd ask what she was doing, she'd shrug it off, just scrolling, or texting a friend. At first I ignored it. Everyone deserves privacy, right? But the more I watched, the more I noticed. She started laughing at messages she wouldn't share with me. She started guarding her phone, tilting the screen away, and setting it face down on the table. There were nights when she'd get a text, and instead of replying right away, she'd pick up her phone and leave the room. That's when the uneasiness started creeping in. If you've ever been with someone long enough, you know when they're acting differently. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe I was making a big deal out of nothing. But deep down I knew better. One evening, she sits me down with a serious look. I remember the way she looked at me that night. We had just finished dinner. She put her fork down, took a deep breath, and looked me dead in the eyes. "Donald, I will need space to find myself." My brain processed the words immediately, but my body went completely still. No reaction. Just a quiet, sinking feeling in my chest. But I didn't let it show. I just nodded slowly and leaned back in my chair. "Space, huh?" I repeated, keeping my voice neutral, almost amused. I made sure not to sound mad, not to sound hurt, just mildly curious. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that the person who stays calm holds all the power. She hesitated like she wasn't expecting me to take it so lightly. That's when I knew this wasn't about needing time alone to think or some midlife self-reflection. Something else was going on. My gut told me that much. And when your gut speaks, you listen. I asked her what she meant exactly. Did she need time alone in the house? Did she want to go somewhere? Was she feeling overwhelmed? She gave me vague, empty responses, things like, "I just need to figure things out." Figure what out? I watched her closely. The way she avoided eye contact. The way she fidgeted with her fingers. Right then I made a decision. I sure as hell wasn't going to ask her 100 questions she had already decided not to answer. No. Instead, I was going to find out the truth for myself. People say trust your partner. I say trust your instincts. And my instincts were screaming at me. So the days that followed I started digging. Sometimes, the truth isn't buried deep. It's just sitting there, waiting for someone to pay attention. First, I checked her phone records. Nothing crazy, just a simple check to see if there was a recurring number. And sure enough, one stood out. Over and over. Next, I went through her social media, paying attention to the subtle things. Who was liking her posts? Who was commenting? More importantly, who was she suddenly following again? That's when I saw it. A familiar name. A name I hadn't heard in years. Her high school boyfriend. The guy she dated before me. The guy she used to talk about was like some teenage love story that never got a real ending. And there he was, back in her life. At first, I didn't panic. I told myself it could be innocent. Maybe they just reconnected. But when I saw the messages, the long conversations, the emojis, the just thinking about old times texts, the kind of messages that shouldn't belong in a married woman's inbox. I could have woken her up that second and demanded an explanation. But I didn't. I didn't say a word about what I found because when someone tells you they need space, they already took it. They made the decision long before they said it out loud. They just want you to agree so they can feel less guilty about it. But here's the thing. When a woman asks for space, she expects you to chase her. She expects you to call, to text, to show up with flowers, to ask what you can do to fix things. So I did the opposite. I gave her the space she was asking for. If she didn't talk to me, I didn't talk to her. And when she did speak to me, I kept my responses short, polite but distant. No cold attitude, no passive aggressiveness, just controlled indifference. And since I wasn't wasting my time begging for her attention, I focused on myself. First stop, the gym. I hit the weights harder than I had in years. I wasn't doing it to impress her. I was doing it because it felt damn good to put my energy into something that actually benefited me. Then I upgraded my wardrobe, got myself some new, well-fitted clothes, and threw out the old, worn-out stuff she never even noticed I was wearing. Fresh haircut, clean shave. Every morning, I looked in the mirror and saw a man who wasn't waiting around to be chosen. But the best part? I rekindled my social life. I started going out with friends again, guys I hadn't seen in months, even years, because I had spent so much time prioritizing my marriage. I started accepting invitations instead of making excuses. Friday night came. I was out, not sitting at home wondering where she was. See, Genevieve had her little support system, her friends, the ones she vented to, the ones who told her she deserved to be happy. But those same women? They noticed the change in me real quick. When I'd run into them, I wasn't the bitter, heartbroken husband they were expecting. I was confident, relaxed, and unbothered. I cracked jokes, smiled more, and kept the conversations light and engaging. And they noticed. At first it was subtle. A quick glance, a lingering smile, a casual, "Wow, Donald, you're looking good these days." Then it escalated. Compliments became curiosity. And you better believe she saw it too. She saw the way they laughed at my jokes, and how they lingered in conversations with me. At first, Genevieve enjoyed her so-called freedom. She thought she had made the right choice, convincing herself that she just needed time to breathe, to explore, to figure things out. But the shift in dynamics didn't go unnoticed, and soon, her excitement turned into unease. She wasn't expecting the changes in me. She thought I'd be sulking, waiting around for her to come back, desperate to prove my worth. Instead, I flipped the script. I had moved on with my life. And that got to her. The first signs of her jealousy were subtle, small, fleeting expressions that she tried to mask. But I saw it. The way she tensed up when she caught her friends giggling around me, touching my arm as they laughed at my jokes. The way her best friend started being extra nice to me, throwing compliments my way every chance she got. I wasn't doing anything special, just being me, but better. And it was working. Genevieve noticed, and that's when it hit her. She was losing me. The very thing she thought she wanted, distance, was now turning against her. She couldn't help herself. One evening, while I was casually sitting in the living room, she walked in and asked, "How was your day?" Just like that. Simple. Casual. As if nothing had happened. I didn't give her what she was looking for. "It was good." That's all I said. No details, no enthusiasm, just a neutral response. I kept my tone light but distant, polite but uninterested. I wasn't mean, I wasn't rude, but I made sure she felt the change. She wasn't my priority anymore. I saw it in her face. She was expecting more. She thought I'd light up at the sound of her voice, eager to engage. But that's not how the game worked anymore. I was done playing on her terms. That moment, that was the beginning of her realization. A few days later, she made another attempt. This time, she put in effort. She started talking to me more. Not just casual small talk, but real conversations. Asking about my plans, commenting on my appearance, and dropping hints that she was noticing the new me. Then came the date night suggestion. "We should go out sometime. Just us. Dinner maybe?" I knew what she was doing. She was trying to slip back and like nothing had happened, expecting that I'd jump at the opportunity. But I wasn't about to make it that easy. I played it cool. I nodded. "Maybe. Let me check my schedule." That answer killed her. She expected me to agree immediately, to be relieved that she was finally coming back. Instead, she had to sit with uncertainty, the same uncertainty she had thrown my way when she asked for space. Then came the dressing up. She started wearing the outfits she knew I liked, fixing her hair, and wearing perfume around the house. Little things, but they were obvious. She wasn't doing it for herself, she was doing it for my attention. And still I didn't bite. I was cool, composed, and in control. It was only a matter of time before she cracked. And when she did, I made sure to remember every detail. One night, she finally said it. The words I knew were coming but refused to drag out of her. She sat down, looked me straight in the eye, and admitted her mistake. "I think I made a mistake." Her voice was softer now, uncertain. "I don't need space, I need us." I leaned back, watching her, letting her words settle. Then, I gave her the answer that had been waiting on my tongue for months. I gave you space because you asked for it. But now I'm not sure if I want to go back to how things were. Her face fell. That's when she knew. The power had shifted. I could see the regret in her eyes. She knew she had played herself. But at that point it didn't matter anymore. I'm done, I told her, my voice steady. You wanted space, and I realized I deserved someone who never needed it in the first place. And just like that it was over. I watched as she sat there, stunned, unable to process how the man she thought would always be waiting for her had slipped right through her fingers. The high school sweetheart? A joke. A distraction. He was never serious about her, just an old flame playing with her emotions, using her to relive his past before going back to his own life. The separation took months to finalize, but before everything was said and done, she confessed to me. I regret it. I regret all of it. But by then, I had already moved on. I was already in a better place, with someone who actually valued what I had to offer. And she was left alone. So, what do you guys think? Was I wrong for handling it this way? Should I have taken her back after everything? Or was I right to move on? I know some people will say, man, you should have fought for your marriage. But let me ask you, fought for what? For a woman who was ready to toss me aside the second she thought she had a better option? A woman who only realized my value when she saw other women appreciating me? That's not love. That's possession. She didn't want me. She just didn't want to lose me to someone else. And that's a big difference. I'll tell you something I learned the hard way. When a woman says she needs space, she's already made up her mind. She just doesn't have the guts to tell you the full truth. She's not asking for space so she can think. She's asking for space to explore her options without feeling guilty about it. And the moment you start begging, pleading, or trying to convince her otherwise, she loses even more respect for you. Because now, you're confirming what she already suspects. You're desperate, and she can do better. Listen, fellas. If your woman ever hits you with that, I need space nonsense, do not chase her. Don't cry, don't beg, don't flood her phone with messages about how much you love her. That's exactly what she's expecting you to do, and the moment you do it, you make her decision easier. Instead, give her exactly what she's asking for, but on your terms. Pull back. Work on yourself. Hit the gym, upgrade your wardrobe, go out with friends, and make sure she sees you thriving without her. Let her feel the absence of the man she thought she could replace so easily. And here's what's crazy. Once she sees that other women are noticing you, that you're moving forward instead of waiting around, she'll start questioning everything. She'll wonder if she made a mistake. She'll feel that jealousy creeping in, and suddenly, she's the one chasing you. And when that happens, you decide if she's even worth taking back. At the end of the day, this is about self-respect. Don't let anyone treat you like a backup plan. Know your worth. And if someone needs to lose you to realize it, let them lose you for good. So, tell me, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you know someone who needs to hear this, send this video to them. And if you've been through something similar, let me know how you handled it. Until next time, take care and stay sharp.